Hello.
And welcome to Makers.dev, episode number 94. Chris, each February, the Respiratory Health Association of Metropolitan Chicago hosts Hustle Up the Hancock. What is this event, and how does it relate to today's episode number?
I don't know, but that sounds like the start of an NPR bit or something.
This is going to go on my reel for my audition for NPR. Yeah. Yes, that's right. You want to take a guess? Hustle Up the Hancock. What could that possibly be?
I don't know.
Okay. That's correct. It is a race up the 94 floors of the John Hancock Center in Chicago. And each year it raises more than $1 million for lung cancer. No, not cancer, just lung disease research and programs.
All right. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. 94. This episode is not sponsored by any of that. I just thought it was a cool fact for the number 94. You're a Googler. This is your second day as a Googler.
Yeah.
I have so many questions, and I understand that you work for Google now, and so you probably can't tell me all of Larry Page's secret habits and what Google's strategy is for, taking over the world. But I would love to know as much as you can tell me. What can you tell me? What's okay to share? What's not okay to share?
Yeah. So generally, I can share, or I can talk about anything that's public knowledge, right? So anything that's been released or whatever, although that's not super interesting, I guess. I can also talk about how I'm feeling and all, that type of stuff, and, general day in the life kind of things. But I won't talk about anything, internal or anything that might get me in trouble, basically. So, okay. You can ask, but I just might, evade or something like that. Yeah.
I would love to ask.
To be clear, I don't know anything yet, but as I get going, yeah, exactly. As I get going, I can't talk about any, obviously ongoing projects or anything. So
yeah, they're going to be like, this guy has a podcast. Let's feed him some fake information and just see what he does with it. Right. Cool. Yeah, I'd love to know about how you're feeling and the publicly available stuff and what your day-to-day is looking like between these 2 days, literally day to day, one day to another day. How you feeling overall? How's this going?
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. It, as you would expect, joining a big company, there's a lot of administrative stuff you have to do to get onboarded. So yeah, in the middle of that, and there's this is a big shift from being independent, obviously. Like we experienced yesterday, we were gonna chat for a minute or something. Oh no, we were going to do the podcast yesterday, and then people can just put stuff on your calendar now, or put stuff on my calendar now. That's a thing. So I think we talked about this before, but you get a little bit of buyer's remorse whenever something really good happens. And so yesterday when that happened, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a thing now. I'm going to be in a lot more meetings. But overall, I feel really good, and everyone's been super super nice and friendly, and yeah.
The buyer's remorse in any situation that resonates with me. That's related to the adage for me of the grass is always greener, or there's this story of a farmer. I may have told this on this podcast before, but I'm gonna go through it anyway. The farmer has his horse runs away. And the village people come by and they're like, oh, that sucks that your horse ran away. That I'm really sorry. And he's like, we'll see. And the next day, the horse comes back with a wild stampede of horses. So now the farmer is the richest person in the village because he has so many horses. And all the village people come by the farmer and like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. That's incredible. How fortunate. And he's like, well, we'll see. And then the next day, while his son is training one of these stallions and breaking it in, the horse stamps on his only son's leg and breaks it. And the village people come by and they're like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. Your son's, probably never going to walk again, or he's going to be a cripple. And the farmer's like, well, we'll see. And the next day, the military comes by to enlist every able-bodied young man, and his son is exempt because he just broke his leg. And the village people come by after losing their sons. They're like, oh my gosh, you're so fortunate. Actually, this was so great. And the farmer just replies like, we'll see. There's an excellent musical about this too called If Then, that originally starring Idina Menzel, who was the voice of in Frozen, Elsa, the voice of Elsa in Frozen. And has been in a bunch of Broadway stuff also. And in the show, there's this single choice that seems inconsequential in the moment where she's just choosing between which of her two friends to go to lunch with. One of them's going to this side of town and the other one's going to this other side. And from that moment, the show splits. And now you're seeing two different shows in parallel of what her life looks like if she chose to go with the first friend and what her life looks like if she chose to go with her second friend. And immediately becomes apparent that like, oh man, her life is so much better having gone with the first friend, and this sucks in this alternate universe that she chose not to do it. And then a little while later it flips, and the second friend reality has a way better life. And then it flips again, and it does that like 3 more times in the show. It illustrates for me this beautiful point that, like, you don't know. Like, it's the life is strange and complicated and unpredictable, and there are pros and cons to any choice, and depending on what snapshot of life you're looking at and how you're evaluating it, parts of it are better and worse, and I think there is no ideal outcome. That was a very long tirade for illustrating a relatively simple point that I think you expressed pretty well when you just said, like, the buyer's remorse idea. But so I think that upside of this for you in your particular life makes a lot of sense, and I'm happy for you, and a little jealous of that big old fat Google paycheck you're going to be getting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, sure, yeah, Google is a dream company for a lot of people, myself included, and so it's really neat that I get to be there now. But yeah, who knows? Something like it may change my life for the worse. So I think, you never know. The good news is, as tech people, I think we always have options. Like, we can always start something new. We can always jump ship and do something else. There are always options. So, yeah.
Oh, I had a thought that I wanted to ask you about. This is a developer advocate role for Google Photos. Yep. Most of your academic motivation has been in getting much better at machine learning stuff. I think this role will not include a lot of machine learning. How might you reconcile those two things? Is machine learning going to continue being an academic interest, and eventually you might pivot roles at Google to be something that's more technical? Do you want the machine learning to be more of a academic interest, and maybe just preparing for future roles while continuing to have your day job be more of like a talking to people and being in meetings and developer advocate and filming video type thing? How are you framing that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Part of it is I don't know. Some of it is also grass is greener stuff, right? We can apply the same things. I think right now I'm really excited to see how this role works out. I like a lot of the different roles and responsibilities that it's going to involve. I'm still very interested in the ML stuff. I'm still going to keep doing my machine learning masters. Part of the reason that I did all the machine learning stuff was so that I could get better at Kaggle, which I can still do. Although Kaggle is owned by Google, and so per the rules of all the competitions, I can't win money anymore.
Yeah.
I can still get medals, so I can get fake internet points, but I can't get money. But that's okay. So I can still do Kaggle and get fake internet points. And I also wanted to understand the generative stuff a lot better. And that's all just personal stuff. So my plan was always sort of to get better at machine learning stuff while doing like web development or whatever anyway. And so I just replaced doing web development consulting with being a developer advocate, which I'm also very interested in. And so for now, I'm just going to dive deep into this developer relations stuff while also getting better at machine learning, not necessarily for a career, goal, but to just get better at it. One of the things I also realized as I did more research about what ML and AI means in industry is that in order to get the jobs that I really want, I need a lot more experience, maybe even a PhD at a lot of places. Wow. And I don't want to do that. So yeah, a lot of the really cool research requires PhD and stuff like that. Some of it doesn't, but yeah, and I know that I don't want to do that. So I am perfectly happy right now getting better at it for fake internet points and just personal interest. Yeah.
Cool. I think it's a great bet. We talked about this, I think, when you were first getting your master's in this. The machine learning is not going away. This is this is the new paradigm of how every piece of software is going to be made. Cool. If nothing else, like, you'll be a valuable asset in the robot uprising, being able to exploit, print out T-shirts that like trick the robots into thinking that you're not a target or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
With your what was the technique? The poisoned image. You could make a T-shirt that's a poisoned image that tricks the robots.
That's right. Also, like, Google Photos does have machine learning parts of it, like any of the smart filtering or any of the auto tagging and stuff. That's all, machine learning driven. And so I may be able to interface some with that. I don't know yet, but so there are parts of the job that may, cross machine learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see as a developer advocate, having that deeper understanding of what's actually going on under the hood is going to be useful. I'm curious to see how that plays out. You mentioned not being able to win money in Kaggle. You have that $5,000 thing coming up. Is that still safe? Because that was before Google, right?
I checked, and it's still safe because the competition ended before I joined. So I don't have the $5,000 yet. I'm getting it as soon as we. So I already talked about this. I think the winners all have winner obligations. One of the things is to open source the code, which I did, and then the next is to be part of a presentation with the runners of the competition. They want to know, how you did what you did, and usually it's like, here's the model I built, and here's how you can use it. This competition is really different. It was like, here's how I did some of the challenges, and here's what I thought went well, and maybe you could improve next year, in the competition. So that kind of thing. So that should be happening this week, I think, and then I'll get paid. Yeah.
All right. I think that'll be fun. You just get to flaunt how smart you are and how you solved all the problems. It's a group call, right? It's with everyone else who...
It is, yeah. It's a panel call with the 5 winners. So should be neat because, I can see all their code because they released it, so I can see how they did it, but it'll be neat, hearing them talk about what they did also. Yeah.
Have you dug into any of their code and found anything you were surprised by?
I read, well, it was kind of interesting. Some of the challenges, there's basically one way to solve it, and that was very obvious. Some of the other challenges, everyone did it differently and sometimes very differently, and so it was kind of interesting to read through all their solutions. Yeah,
cool. I don't know how much of this you can talk about, but it's something I'm curious about. What does onboarding at Google look like? Is it like useful stuff? Are they showing you if you want to book time on someone else's calendar, here's how you do that. And don't be evil, and here's what evil means. What? Or is it just standard onboarding for a company? I've never had a real job. I'm genuinely curious about this. What does that first day, what does the first week look like?
I was going to say, think about any job that you started, but you haven't started any.
Right.
I don't know. I actually don't know how much I can talk about, but I would say they're a big company, so there's a lot of internal tools and processes and stuff. So you have to learn about all of that somehow, and then you have to pick your benefits and your 401k. So so far it's been a lot of sort of routine stuff. I do think there's Google specific onboarding stuff, which I'll experience, but I don't know what that's like yet because I haven't done it yet. So yeah.
It's a question I'm very curious about of how you get a new employee to be a net gain of effort and money as quickly as possible. This is a question I was thinking about at the Rails SaaS conference that I just went to in Los Angeles. There was a talk about hiring Rails developers, and I think for them they sort of had this framing of hey, everybody in the Rails community, if we're not investing in training new junior developers, this ecosystem that we have of Rails development is going to dry up because senior developers come from junior developers. So we all got to be invested in bringing more people on. And they talked a little bit about the trade-off between hiring an unpaid intern and investing more time and money and probably not getting a lot of return, but you're still benefiting the community versus hiring a junior developer who's cheaper, but it's going to need a little bit more hand-holding, but then you can train them in the way that you like to do things and your internal processes, and they can become a domain expert much quicker. Or a senior developer who's going to be much more expensive, but still needs to learn more of the domain knowledge and your style of doing things. And it has me just sort of noodling on this question of how what might my next hire be, and how should I be framing what my return on investment is going to look like, and what the point is that they'll start that my time investment in them is getting me back more work than if I had just done the work myself. So I'm curious how someone like Google does it, if they're fine with their investment in you being 6 months before it's a net positive because they're just operating at such a big scale, or if they're trying to get you working as quickly as possible. And I'm curious how that works.
Yeah, I think especially when you consider just big companies versus maybe you're a one-person company, right? Or still small companies in general. With small companies, it's way easier to just have someone jump in and just get started. And like, so if you hire someone, you are the person they're going to ask all their questions to, and you just get them started and they'll sort of learn. You don't really have, processes or like, what am I trying to say? Like administrative overhead type stuff. And so it's going to be way faster to get someone onboarded. With big companies, I think, there's just a lot more internal things you have to worry about. There's a lot more like, I have to like learn who to ask different questions to. I have to, learn what all the departments are and how to, if I need to talk to HR, how do I do that? And if I need to talk to benefits, how do I do that? And whatever. So there's just a lot more like overhead, I think, for big companies, any big company. And so, I mean, for that reason, I think, they can look at a much longer term or longer onboarding process and be okay with that versus like I mean, I imagine if you hired someone, you'd try to get them productive the first day. So, yeah, I think that's just a big company versus small company thing.
You just made something make sense for me that I've struggled to understand in the past, which is instead of firing people in big companies, I've heard that companies just try to replace them. Like, within our organization, you need to find a new role. And that makes a lot more sense to me now because of the investment that you would have to make in getting them set up and being familiar with all the HR stuff and getting the bank accounts set up and knowing what all the internal processes are. And if you can save on the bulk of that onboarding by hiring someone who has already worked for Google or any other big company, hiring them in a different part of the organization is going to be much lower friction than hiring a new person who may be a better fit for the role, but would be much harder to find and interview and screen and then get onboarded. That's a lot more friction. That makes a lot more sense to me now. Yeah.
Well, and like my interview process started in May or June or something. So like the team has waited 4 months or something for me to come on already. Oof. And then, but there's a hiring freeze, so that was a little abnormal, right? But, and then now I have to get onboarded still. And so, yeah, like it's a long lead time. Whereas if there was someone internal who could just switch, like they could, switch that week or something. I mean, they probably don't do that, but, they could switch super fast and already be onboarded and up to speed. So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who's been doing the work in this time? is the stuff you're doing just not getting done?
No. It's been spread out. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see why everyone on this team wants you then, because that's gonna decrease their workload.
Yep.
They'll be able to focus more on other stuff. Okay. Cool. Anything else from this last week that you can talk about?
I thought I had something and then I forgot what I was going to say. So no.
Cool. if it comes up.
Did I have something? We talked about stuff I was going to talk about, and I don't think I have anything else. Yeah, I don't know.
I think those are all my notes. Yeah. The fact that people can put stuff on your calendar now is kind of funny. That's I think one of them you said you got like 5 minutes notice before the event.
Well, no, it was more like, hey, this thing's happening. If you want to join, you can, but don't worry about it if you're busy or whatever. Okay. So it wasn't like you have to attend this meeting. It's like, hey, this thing is happening. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that would look kind of bad on your first day if you were like, oh, actually, I'm busy.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Cool. I have 3 main things I'd like to talk with you about and 2 smaller things. The first thing, I've only gone without co-working for a day, and we've gone through bigger gaps in the past, but I'm feeling it. It's like I'm less focused. I'm just like, I can make breakfast a little longer before getting, and then I'm at my computer. I'm like, I can like check Hacker News before I get, and then it's like 11 a.m. and I'm like, okay, what have I actually gotten done today? But I did get a reasonable amount of stuff done yesterday, I think. Even just in the process of doing co-working, I've built up better habits. And an interesting observation that I had is that when I'm not tied to the system that we have together, which is usually working for 25 minutes and then taking about a 5-minute break, I work for much longer stretches at a time. I work for like 45 to 50 minutes before I feel the natural need to take a break. And it was interesting because every single time, so I have like this automated timer system where I can start a POM and then it starts playing my work music, and then the work music stops, and I know that means that the timer finished. And I had the experience 3 separate times yesterday of starting that timer, and then the timer goes off, and I'm like, I'm kind of in the middle of something. I'm just going to wrap it up real quick. It'll probably be another 5 minutes. And then I turn the music back on without a timer, and I just keep working. And then I feel like, this is a natural stopping point. I'd like to take a break. And so I turned it off and looked at how much time it was, and it was 45 minutes. And it was 45 minutes for 2 more times. It was like, it was eerie. So yeah, that was interesting. Maybe Palms could be retimed to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, that just might be your natural cadence, which is good to know. Yeah.
I also like 25 minutes. I think the important part of it for me is that I'm forcing myself to take breaks. I think I can get too hyper focused into stuff, and then I get burned out at the end of the day because I'm like, oh my god, I just worked for 6 hours straight and I haven't gotten up from the chair, and I'm hungry and thirsty and tired and sore at the same time, and that's not a good combination. So yeah, I think the amount of time is something I'd like to experiment with now that I know that this is a model that works well. And I do have a recurring question for you, which is what do you think this co-working situation is going to look like for you? How's that looking right now? I know it's early. It's your second day.
I don't know is the answer, because so I mean, I think until I get sort of settled into some routine, I won't have a good idea of anything. So okay. I will keep you updated, but right now, I have no idea.
All right. Yeah. I'll keep limping along. I'll keep trying. You know what I should do? I'll just take some of our old podcast recordings of like your camera and I'll just mute it and I'll just put it in the corner like it's a Zoom call.
We should we could record a co-working session, and then you could just replay that all the time.
Just keep me working. That's funny.
You could sell that as a service too, just fake or pre-recorded co-working sessions.
That's good. And then I'll just have a button where, like, after I tell you something, the recording of you just like, that's cool. Have you thought about marketing or something? whatever the canned responses are. Cool. Okay. And then I have 3 main things to update you on, to ask you questions on. The first one is FileInbox. In the last 7 days, I worked 7 hours and 34 minutes, which I'm pretty happy with. I'm slowly marching towards this goal that I thought was going to take me 2 months. That's taken me a lot longer than 2 months of transitioning all of the Rails users into this serverless architecture. And I've started this mode of just sort of mopping up everything, that like I'm just walking through the app over and over, and I'll notice a thing that is a bookmark for a new feature that I haven't implemented, and then I'll ask myself, okay, do I actually need this feature? Well, no, I don't need it to launch, so let's just hide that bookmark so that people can't see it. And yesterday I got a lot of that done, and I think I'm looking at something like 6 medium-sized projects that I need to do before it's like done. One of those big ones is integrating billing, making sure that paid users have the right paid access features that they need. One of those is uploader notification emails. And it was kind of fun doing it this way because I was reminded how much better this system is than the old one. It's, I think, when I was just sort of linearly walking through setting higher level goals of like, okay, well, here's the 10 things I need to do, and let's sort those by priority and just sort of dig in at the code. That felt a little more dejecting because I wasn't seeing more of the pieces of the app. So doing it this way, I like better, and I can have a lot more pieces going at the same time, and have a much bigger sense of what the entire app is doing. That feels really good. And then in the process of doing that, like, I'm touching other parts of the app, and I realize, it's kind of important for people to be able to delete a page. Let me do the delete button really quick. And that's an easy feature. That's something that I need to be able to launch, that then I do it in like 25 minutes, and then it's done. And that feels really good. And then I've polished a few other things in the process of doing that. So yes, I think what I'd like to talk with you about here is the rough timeline for that transition, and then what I'm doing after that, and what marketing can be done in the meantime. So my rough schedule for that is, I'm thinking it's going to be like another 2 weeks. That's gonna It's gonna haunt me for the next 2 episodes. But I think it's possible that I can launch this in 2 weeks, and like start the migration in mass of users going over. And I have a call with Rachel about that today. She should be like priming people who want to be early adopters, who want to be trying it out first. And that process feels pretty straightforward. I think there's going to be some bugs, but a lot of those bugs I think have been ironed out by the 2 beta users that I have right now. So I might like onboard some people and then pause it while I mop up those bugs and then resume it. But that part feels pretty straightforward. What marketing can I do while I'm doing that? And then after everybody's switched over, what's the next thing I should work on? With both questions, the goal being, how do I raise MRR?
Okay. Do you have your metrics in place now? Can you like look at things?
I do, and I can. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know if we talked about that. I looked at the metrics for how many paid users I got from that new Google Analytics, new Google Ads thing.
Yeah, you showed me that, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast. Yeah.
0 users. I got 0 paid users from that, which sort of makes sense. Like the sort of person sending a file. My hypothesis in that was that the person they were sending the file to might be someone who wants to receive files, and for them to do that right now, they would need to land on the page where they're receiving files and then click a green button in the upper right hand corner that says receive files. I think I could be selling that more on that page to try to increase that conversion number. And then also, I think there's room for a paid product for people sending files, like we talked about. And I think that would need to be much cheaper, but that's, man, I was getting like 1,000 new users a day with that Google ad that was costing me $10 a day. It sure seems like there's an opportunity to I was talking with a friend about this, and he was saying, what if you charge them like $1 a month? Even people in India, like that's not I'm showing my cultural bias here. I also have no framing of like what the economic difference is between India and the US. I'm pretty sure India's significantly lower in terms of like individual purchasing power. But if I'm charging people $1 a month, that would be a profitable thing. I would be spending less in ads and resources than I'm making from those users. And similar products are charging like $5 a month. Go ahead.
Assuming anyone signed up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the difference between $0 and $1 is like really big.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting experiment. You could try it. That would be a marketing thing, I would say. Well, except it's going to require development and stuff. And so, but that's sort of a cheating marketing thing.
Yeah.
I think there were more pages you wanted to write. Is that true? Like article things, comparison pages or something? Or did you do all those?
I think I'm done with those for now. I would like to recheck that to-do list. And I have another call with Jonathan Zacks, my unofficial SEO consultant,
SEO buddy,
this week. Yeah. So he'll be able to run through the stuff we talked about last time and recommend more stuff to me. But it's a struggle for me because I don't know where the users are coming from. I have old Google ads that are running that are trying to advertise to people who are looking for file receiving pages, and I've been spending about $100 a month on those for like about 3 years. And I looked today at the metrics of like how many paid users I've gotten from that, and I think I've gotten 2 paid users from those campaigns, which
in
hurts.
3 years
the customer acquisition cost is very high, and so I am struggling. I don't know. MRR is going up, which is interesting. I think probably from SEO efforts. That's the only thing I can point to that I think would have changed recently.
I would try to write more SEO things then, I guess. Come up with at least, you can use our AI trick if you want, which is you ask GPT-3 what articles you could write about file sending, and it just gives you the titles maybe, and then you write those. You could also do the, if you get a good funnel of those, you could do the trick that we talk about often, which I don't think either of us has done, which is write SEO content and then drive ads to the free SEO content.
I'm doing that actually. I'm doing that for the Google Drive file request page.
Okay.
But that hasn't terms related to.
That hasn't had any signups.
That's the only. So I think for both of the paid users that I got from the Google Ads campaign from that, I think both of them came from that page and that campaign. Yeah.
Can you come up with 10 more of those articles? Or one more? To go with one more?
I have other articles I could be sending people to that I could be like buying ads for, like things like a WeTransfer alternative. Right. That's something I could be buying ads to. Okay, yeah. I could be buy ads for more SEO landing pages.
Yeah. So maybe like instead of spending $100 a month on one generic ad, can you spend $20 a month on 5 very specific landing pages?
Yeah.
See if that
Yeah,
does
I
anything.
know that I have all the metrics in place to be able to measure what the return is. I'll be able to see very clearly. I'll be able to stem the bleeding of like, okay, the
Right.
maybe cut off ads to this particular query, and oh wow, the WeTransfer alternative one actually is doing pretty well.
Yeah. The other thing I would do, based on my experience with Google Ads, is make sure you look at the search queries and make sure it's high intent stuff.
Yeah.
Because
I
mine
haven't
wasn't.
done that in a while for
So
the old ones. Look at search intent for existing ads. Yeah, that's good.
So there's a bunch of marketing stuff you can do.
I like it. And then I like forming, I like framing the file sending paid product as an experiment, because that would be a cheap and easy thing to do. I could just throw up a $5 a month plan. And I think on Stripe, I was looking into this. I think Stripe has built in that you can charge people differently based on their local currency.
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure how they do that, but I don't know. When you buy something with a credit card, does it show you? Maybe I do it based on geography.
It shows dollars, so it's probably geography. Yeah, it's probably IP address.
Yeah, if it was based on IP address, that would make sense. I don't know what level. Like, I think because I need to, on the pricing page, I need to be able to tell them what the price is. Yeah. I don't know if there's a plugin for Stripe that Stripe tells you what the price is, or
yeah. I don't know.
Right, well,
Are you using their checkout page, or are you doing it yourself?
the checkout. Oh yeah, if I'm sending them to the checkout page, for sure, Stripe and then I just won't tell them what the price is. I would like to be able to advertise the price before I send it to the checkout page, though. I'd like to be able to tell them how much it's going to cost.
I don't know. Look up the documentation. Yeah.
Okay. That would be a really easy way to do it if I'm just sending them to the checkout page. And yeah. Okay, cool.
The other interesting experiment I just thought about with ads is when you described going to Rails SaaS and describing your product as sending and receiving files in a file inbox, you might say, you got a lot of good response. You could drive ads to a send and receive files page and have a big button that says send and a big button that says receive, and like see who clicks what, and that'd be interesting. And then see what your ad cost is for that.
I like that. I think, have several signups, just like signups from the Google ad of people who wanted to receive files. So another thing I'm thinking about is like, am I just priced too high? Right now I'm charging $29.99 and $249 a month, and I have exactly 0 people on the $249 a month plan. Oh. So I'm wondering if I just like ratchet that down and have my highest plan at $99, and then have a $29 plan, and then maybe have a $5 a month plan that's the mostly file sending features.
Yeah, that's a pretty big jump. So you could like keep your $249 one and do $29.99 and $249, or if you have 0 people, I guess you could lower it to $99 and then have a call us, plan. Which, if you have any enterprise type features that you want to separate out, you can do that.
I don't currently have a call us plan. That's good. Oh, you know what? I really should be doing that. I had like companies reach out to me that wanted me to do these security compliance things of like filtering files. They should for sure be on the call us plan.
Oh yeah.
And they should be paying me $249 a month
or more if you have to do security compliance.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
You might need $249 a month in insurance just to comply with those things.
Yeah. My understanding of it is that they just wanted me to do that. My only responsibility was that I needed to implement for them file extension filtering and fire scanning, which were 2 features I wanted to do anyway, but I'm doing it like for them. Like I bumped it up the queue for them. So yeah, I should be charging them more for that. They should be on the call us plan. Okay. Yeah. When I reach out to them for a call, I'm gonna upsell them on that. Cool. Okay. That feels good. Feels like several ways to draft that forward.
Because I work at Google now, so I get information about Firebase and stuff. Hello and welcome back.
Hello and welcome back. Chris got raptured.
I got raptured. I think sometimes when Chrome takes up a lot of RAM, it freezes, which is what happened until memory collects. It does that for me sometimes, but then my computer just restarted. So something went horribly wrong. Yeah. So
that's a catastrophic failure. That's good.
Yeah,
I haven't had one of those in a while, like a good old fashioned kernel panic.
Yeah,
I used to get those all the time.
I don't know what happened, but the screen went all funny, like HDMI was all messed up, and then it just restarted. So yeah,
cool. What were we talking about? Customers for FileInbox. Difficult for me to like Like, okay, a church was the most recent pro customer that I had on FileInbox. I don't know what to do with that information. Do I start targeting churches? Like, I think this is the first church I've ever had. Yeah, so that's my frustration. And then, this new thing we're talking about of selling to people sending files. That's a totally different market. I don't know what to do. I just want MRR to be higher.
Yeah. Based on one customer, I wouldn't start targeting churches. You could call them and be like, hey, saw you signed up. What's going on? I mean, put more effort into it than that, but basically talking to them and figuring it out. If you're thinking about targeting people, I would just think about whatever your tried and true biggest customers are, most number of customers is what I'm saying. But it's very interesting that you got someone, a type of customer you've never gotten before. So you could try to talk to them.
That is interesting. Talking to customers, very good advice. I would like to be doing that more. And I have Rachel on a campaign to get me, I'm going to try to talk to every single one of my paying customers and onboard them one by one on the new platform. Okay, cool. I'll add that as another thing. Talk to every customer. Cool. Next thing, clips.marketing, which I might be calling clip cut because I think that's what people are Googling for that are high intent looking for this sort of thing.
Cool.
I had a really good customer call the other day where I was really working on narrowing down what's the painful part of this process for you. The results, if people could wave a magic wand, who are these video producers? Oh, and I have such a clear picture of who these people are. It's like mid-range content producers as people with a long-form podcast or a regular YouTube show that they're doing. And they're one person or a small team, maybe an assistant, maybe an editor, and they want to be churning out more of the clip style content that they can be syndicating on the different social media networks so that they can be amplifying the content they're already making, because they really want more subscribers. That's the whole game. They want more watches, they want more listens, because then they can get sponsorships and they have a bigger audience. I totally get it. I am one of these people. I would love a bigger audience. I would love to be syndicating clips from the show. So on this customer call, I was asking what's the pain point for you in this? Is it that queuing up the clips is hard and managing all the different social media accounts? And it was not that. That was the easiest part of the process. Is it that finding the interesting clips is hard? And the person I was talking to had an assistant who was doing that for really cheap. And she was like, no, that part's pretty easy. But right now that person is sending her timestamps, just in a Word document of here's an interesting clip and here's what I would title it. And then, this person had to, the content creator had to go through and open up Final Cut Pro and clip out the spots and then send that to their editor, and then the editor would optimize it for social media. And that opening up Final Cut Pro and going to the timestamps and clipping it out, that was the most painful part. And because of that, they weren't doing the entire thing. And there's such beautiful phrases she was saying of it's, I just dread doing this, and I know I should be doing it, and people are recommending that I do it, and I've been wanting to do it for months, but I just can't do it. And my brain was just lighting up of oh yes, this is a great person to sell to. So I think the MVP for that is just a tool that can really easily clip out video content from a web browser. You upload the whole thing, and I've been so obsessed with this clipping based on transcript idea, but I don't think that's actually important for the MVP. That is something I'd like to be able to do, but I think the primary interface, for this to be a useful thing, I think the only thing it has to do is upload videos and then clip it, because then the output from the extra assistant who's just looking for the interesting content, the output is not a list of timestamps. The output is actual video that then you can just send the video to your editor or tell your editor, take this video and format it. And then I think there would be a really natural progression of taking over some of the features that Subly is doing. Subly seems to be the market leader in the space of once you have a clip, it makes it easier to subtitle. And I think I could pretty easily make a better product than Subly. I say that now, it's going to bite me. I'm not sure that's going to be
have
so
a whole
hard.
team of people working on it.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
I can do it better.
It's my hubris showing. But if I think that would be the next step, that from making the clip, you can then optimize the clip, and then I think the next part would be automatically queuing it up so that it's one continuous flow. But I think I can launch and have an MVP that I can start marketing with just a thing that just does clipping. And technically, the back end of that is done. I know how to do that. That's a solved problem. I know how to upload videos. I know how to download videos from YouTube. I know how to use FFmpeg to do exact cuts on it. I think I need to just throw up a really simple interface that lets you cut videos and make accounts. And here's the question I have for you. I want a freemium product. I want something that people can just use, zero friction. You just go and I can drive Google ads to it of like people searching for how to clip stuff. And I want them to be able to get provable value just doing that like they have some output from that. And then I want to charge them money to get the full output. And here are some variables I can play with. I can integrate timestamping into this. So maybe timestamping is the free product. I can watermark videos. I can limit the resolution of videos. I could try to hide how to download the video, but I like there are going to be ways around that. And I think that's all. I think those are the variables I'm working with. What are your thoughts?
I mean, you could almost do all three of those. First of all, I think this is great. The marketing content almost writes itself. You know, do you dread opening Final Cut Pro to make your video clips? No longer, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not a marketer. That was terrible.
It just feels so much easier to me because I understand. I know who the customer is. I can write copy for them. I know where they hang out. I can the marketing just feels so much easier because I know who the customer is. Oh, yep. Yes.
In terms of the freemium part, I think watermarks definitely make sense. I think like you could limit to 720p because you know, serious content creators will want to do 1080 or 4K. I don't know if you support 4K, but and then
if it's for clips, actually, I'm not sure. That's a hypothesis I'd like to test because
certainly for social media, you don't need 4K.
Yeah. I think most social media is actually pretty okay with 720p, especially if it's a clip. This is a question I have. Like, what's the actual? I should be the expert here. I should know what the optimal resolution is for each of the clips.
And then you could make timestamping free, and then clips cost money. I think that's totally fine too, because anyone who uses timestamping may also want clips. Timestamping is relatively inexpensive for you, although you have to do the file upload, so you have to watch your costs on that, right?
Because there's a way I can do it entirely in the browser, and that way it's just if you paste in a YouTube link, I can just be running off the embedded YouTube video.
Oh. Well, that's really cool. Yeah. And then you can make actual uploading and saving projects a paid feature.
Right. I also have a really cheeky way to do clipping from a YouTube video URL, which is using YouTube DL and getting a copy of the video. So like a flow that I could have is capture people who are trying to find a way to timestamp YouTube videos, drop them in a really easy interface where they just paste in the video and then they can do the timestamping and then, or the chapter marking. And then I can say, hey, wouldn't you like to make some clips from this? And if they start making clips, then I start downloading the video in the background. And then I actually start like rendering it and uploading it. But those clips are watermarked. And then I say, so maybe it's like, you know, you need to sign up for an account to do the clipping. And then you need to pay me to not have these watermarked. Otherwise, you can download the list of the timestamps or something.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You can use YouTube DL. You may want to watch out for like using that as a long-term business, like
for sure,
key part of your business, because that might just stop working at any point.
For sure.
Or your IP might get blocked or something.
It'd be funny because it's running on Firebase servers. It'd be like Google would be blocking their own IP addresses.
Yeah. But yeah, I think all that sounds cool. So go down that direction, I think.
The risk of that is mitigated a little bit because one of my really good friends works for Google now, so I got a guy on the inside.
Not YouTube though. I don't know anybody who works at YouTube.
I'm going to exploit this for all I can.
The other thing I was going to say is I think making clips from transcripts is really interesting to you, and now it's technically possible, so that's why you're very interested in it. But I don't think anyone thinks in that way because it wasn't possible until recently. So everyone thinks in timestamps. And so, I would for sure focus on timestamps.
Okay. Yeah, that's what came out of the customer interview too. And I have 2 more customer interviews that were supposed to happen yesterday and today, but both of them rescheduled to next week on the same day, like within an hour of each other. It was interesting. So I'll keep doing those. I recently reread most of the mom test, so I feel like I was primed to like do a really good user interview. So I'll keep doing that. I feel like I'm doing this correctly this time. Like I know who the audience is. I'm like doing user research. I have a semblance of marketing. I'm doing marketing at the same time as building the product. I'm really honing down what the core product needs to be able to do this. Cool. And then like while I'm working on this, I'm just I did a bunch of keyword research on SEMrush, and I know the things people are Googling, and I know that like the volume of it is really good, and I know what the competitors in the space are, and I'm not demoralized by looking at competitors. I'm seeing them as like validation that this is a really good market to be entering, and if I can just differentiate myself to be the video editor specifically to get this job done. You're trying to make clips for social media. There's very few people in the space right now who are oriented towards that. I think I only found one competitor who's like actually trying to do this sort of thing. And then I found several people who were like agencies doing this where they cost 5 figures a month or something. So all of that just feels really good because it feels like validation that, okay, there's a market here. And if I can just get the word out to people that this is a thing that they can do and they should use my tool and capture them when they have the intent of trying to get it done, then I've got a business. And I've got traction. I got MRR going up. Okay, yeah, that feels good. That feels like the path forward is clear. Any other thoughts on clips.marketing or ClipCut if I change the name to that?
No, ClipCut's pretty good if you can get the .com, but
I can't get the .com. I have the .app.
I don't know. Maybe you want to ask on your customer calls, ask how people feel about .app domains.
Yeah, that's the right answer. Okay, I might play with that more and try to look for a .com. Next thing I'd like to talk about is something we've talked about a few times that I actually pushed forward this weekend. On Saturday and Sunday, I let myself just work on whatever I feel like working on. And Sarah and I had been talking about finances and finance tracking, and I was reminded that I really want a tree map view, which is like a bunch of nested boxes where the size of the box is proportional to how big the thing is. I first found out about this type of graph from a really old app called Grand Perspective that shows you the file usage on your computer. And it's the best visualization for that sort of tool because there's like you want to know where your hard drive space is going. And there's 2 types of ways that hard drive space can be used. It can be one really big file, which is pretty easy to find if you're just sorting files by size, or it can be a bunch of small files in the same category, which are going to be very difficult to find in any other way. But in this sort of visual representation, you can see really easily like, wow, okay, this is a huge file that was buried somewhere in my hard drive, so that I can just delete. And then also, there's all these smaller system files for this application that I'm not using anymore, so I can just delete that whole folder. And now you have control of your hard drive space. I want to do the same thing for finances because I think it's a direct analogy. Where did my money go? It could either go towards like a small number of really big purchases, and those you probably have in your head already, like how much those are, but like visually seeing them and how they are proportional to other things that you're spending, I think would be really useful. And then the second category is like a bunch of smaller expenses to see like, oh my gosh, I'm spending too much money on avocado toast and Starbucks coffee. Like it is only $5 every time I buy the coffee, but some days I buy it twice and I'm consistently buying it once per day. And oh my gosh, over the course of a month, that's a significant amount of money. And then over the course of a year, that's like, wow, that's a lot of money. So that's the visualization that I want. We had talked in the past, very good advice, that the like money making strategy of making this as a business is integrating this with QuickBooks. And that's still something I want to do, but that's not at all what I worked on because I want to solve my own problem first. So I have been struggling with this integration with an app platform called Plaid. If you've ever done anything in financial app stuff, you click it and it's this really strange interface where like it just asks you for your bank username and password, and I'm like, how is this the way that we're doing this? Like, but I found out that there's like some banks are transitioning to OAuth, which is fantastic. So I was able to get a basic implementation of this done on their developer plan. you're able to authenticate 100 accounts. And I was like, great. This is like Sarah and me, between the two of us, we've got like 5 bank accounts. So this is going to be perfect. And I did the integration in their test sandbox, and it worked great. I could import to Firebase, and they have a really good syncing method, and they have a really sane way of like exchanging tokens. And I understood all that and did all that. And then when I tried to do it with my own bank account, I was like, all right, here we go. My main bank is with this major bank. So I'm gonna, that's where my credit card is. So here we go. And I do it, and it says, you need to update your app. And I'm like, what's this? So I Google the error, and it says, you actually, because this major bank uses OAuth, the only way to get OAuth access is if you have a production account. So I was just like, oh my God. But I was able to authenticate a bunch of the smaller banks. Surprisingly, Venmo works with this also. So I was able to just like import all my Venmo accounts, and that was just magical when I was able to import all those. So now I'm waiting on a production account before I can like actually use this. Sarah's main expenses also come from one of these major banks. So that's the status of that project. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully I'm able to get a production account just so I can use it. When I was filling out their form to get approved for a production account, it was asking me all sorts of questions of like, do you have documented system for what to do in the case of a data breach? And I was like, no, but also it's just me, so I'll feel like a lot of these questions don't apply. And it was like, do you regularly scan for viruses with every employee at your company? And I was like, I guess, although I could install a virus scanner if you want me to do that. Do you use 2-factor authentication for all your different apps? I think so. Yeah. Oh, is your data encrypted at rest was a fun one, because I thought I would have to do something special for that. All right, we're gonna wrap up quickly.
My computer is freaking out, man.
Yes. So an interesting thing in doing this process that I found is that I'm thinking much more about marketing. I was thinking about like, here's a tweet that I could do to engage customers. And then I tweeted it out, and I was thinking about the Google ads I could do and the marketing that I could do. And like, I could have a Google ad targeting people who are Googling for, you need a budget. And the headline could be, you don't need a budget. Instead, you need to just see how you've already spent your money. So I think my question is like, knowing that I need to start with the personal finance side of this, how would you be thinking about it as a product?
I wouldn't right now.
Okay.
This is just me, but I would solve your problem first. So yeah, you have problems with Plaid, fix those. You have can't integrate all your accounts yet, fix that. Make sure it's useful for you. And while you're doing that, you can finish your FileInbox transition. You can do this clips.marketing thing. And then I think you'll know a lot more about how you use it and how other people might use it. So cool. I guess that's what I would say, is solve your own problem for now. Don't think about it as a product yet.
Cool. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay. One more thing. I'm building a sauna with my brother-in-law. That's fun.
Nice. Like
we
in your
got
house?
a chainsaw yesterday. In his backyard, because he has a backyard.
All right.
Yeah. We're hunting for cedar trees in the area that we can just like take down, and we drove out yesterday, and just like some dude on Craigslist was like, yeah, I got these cedar trees, you can take if you want.
Yeah.
We chainsawed him down and loaded him up in his truck, and we're going out again today to get more cedar.
That's cool. Yeah. So when I was doing woodworking, like good wood is really expensive, but if you own a chainsaw mill, then you can either offer to like cut down people's trees for them. Like some people just want trees down, and if you say I'll do it for free, they're like, yeah. Or you can go on, and oftentimes people will be like, this giant walnut tree fell in my yard and I need it gone. Who can I call, or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can get like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of wood for free just by doing the work. So that's cool. Yeah. Are you going to mill up the lumber, or are you making it like?
We're using. It's a method of construction I'd never heard before called core wood construction, where you use logs as bricks. So you just cut the pieces of wood to be the thickness of the wall, which is going to be like 8 to 12 inches, and then you mortar them in place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. And then you like just need a hand chainsaw to be able to prepare the wood for this. So I thought that was cool.